Welcome to episode 37 of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Christian Shy. What's going on, fellas?
What's good?
What up, Ham?
What's up, man?
What's good? Back at it again. After another week, we are officially into the conference round of the NBA playoffs. We actually just had our first game last night with the Celtics getting a close dub over the Pacers in overtime last night.
Capped up.
So we'll obviously get into that in terms of what picks that we have for the round and ultimately who we have coming out on top in the championship. Also, we'll get into a little bit about Bronny James with the NBA draft fast approaching soon after the NBA finals. And we'll get into a little bit more conversation on the NBA side of things. But to start, obviously we saw the Celtics get a dub and are up 1-0 against the Indiana Pacers. Looking back at the series, obviously we talked a little bit about the Celtics and the Cavs last week. Were you guys expecting the outcome, from the Pacers Knicks game as well as the Timberwolves Nuggets from last week? What we were looking at with both sides being up at that point?
For me, I did think the Knicks was gonna win Game 7, but hey, hats off to the Pacers, man. I mean, they do what they do best. They don't try to deviate from whatever they want to do. They obviously want to push the pace and push the tempo, and I mean, they came in with the mindset of, hey, we got to get this game, man. To see them get it on the road, I mean, I understand. New York was obviously injured. I mean, unfortunately, Jalen Brunson fractured his hand. OG tried to give it a go, played 3-4 minutes. But I mean, I wasn't expecting any of that. I did expect the Knicks to win. So shout outs to the Pacers for, coming away with a clutch dub against a formidable team that actually plays really good defense and plays everybody tough. And Pacers, they're young and they're showing that, they can be a force eventually. And then as far as the Nuggets, man, there's so much to say about that game. I mean, I really thought the Nuggets were going to win. I mean, even during the game being up 20, but I mean, as we've been finding out, man, a 20-point lead don't mean shit in this league no more. Is that can go away with the quickness, but that just shows the tough and the grit of the Timberwolves. To fight back to make it a game again, and then ultimately coming away with the dub.
Yeah, I share the same thoughts. I mean, it was good to have 2 Game 7s, kind of back to back like it was on Sunday. Very interesting that both the road teams won both of those Game 7s. Yeah, for the Pacers, I mean, they both did it a different way. Like the Pacers kind of shut the crowd up early. The Knicks were down 15, 20 points before half. You know what I mean? Like they try to put them away quick. Of course, the Knicks, they're fighting, so of course they came back and made a little bit of a game. But from the jump, it was kind of like, yeah, the Pacers just got too much for them right now. And on top of Jalen Brunson's injury. As the game unfolded, not surprised that they won. They're taking advantage of the East and the injuries that's going on. I mean, you can't hate it either because it happens every year. The healthiest teams are usually the ones that last. As far as the Nuggets game, though, that's disappointing if you're a Nuggets fan, truly. You had that game 1. You couldn't put it away. It shows the fight on the flip side of what they came back from as far as the Timberwolves did. This is just another like, another pen to put into Ant's book. Even though he didn't have a great game after he went like 6-24. Like, he had a terrible shooting game, but he found ways to impact the game. Then late, he made a couple of big shots. So they found a way. I feel like the Timberwolves are really working with their team right now. They like the roles that are defined for their teams are so clear that it makes the game kind of easier. And we'll talk a bit more about that in this Mavs series. But I was happy with what I saw from the Timberwolves, but the Nuggets sold that one.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, they definitely sold it a little bit, but I mean, the Nuggets. I mean, it is what it is when you're playing the number 1 defensive team in the league. Eventually, when they lock in, it gets tough, and once it starts getting tough,
yeah,
they start getting tight, and once you start getting tight, it just starts slowly going downhill. But even the crowd, I mean, you could tell everybody was like, the crowd was a little uneven. the players. You could tell Jokic was getting a little frustrated. He was, I think, at one by the fourth quarter, he was like 0 for 6 from the 3-point line, couldn't hit. Obviously, Jamal Murray started off hot in the first half and then didn't do shit for the rest of the game, really. So you can kind of see the frustration kind of boil over, and it kind of seems like the Nuggets the entire playoffs were pressing, and even back to a lot of people were talking about the Lakers. Obviously, I don't think anybody outside of myself and a few others picked the Lakers to win the series, but watching the games, even though they did gentlemen sweep them, I mean, the Lakers really could have came out on top, and it just seemed like something was going wrong with Denver really the entire playoff series. And obviously they were kind of hurt as well, banged up. But it was good to see the Timberwolves. I'm glad now we're finally, even with the Pacers getting the win as well, we're in the conference finals with watching the number one player win a championship for the first time. So with that being said, it doesn't necessarily have to be the number one guy, but is there somebody in particular that you're like looking forward to seeing get a championship for the first time, or just get a championship at all?
I mean, honestly, not in particular. I'll be honest with you. Any of these four guys that we're talking about, whether it's Jason Tatum, Halliburton, Luka, or Ant, like a championship will put them in a different standing, put them in a different category than what they are now. So I really look forward to anybody that kind of takes that on on their mantle and do it. But I mean, if I had to choose one, I would want it to be Jason Tatum at this point, because like you can't keep coming this close and then not finishing it off. But yeah, I would say Jason Tatum. I really want him to do it, but that's kind of because he needs to, in a way.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, that's clearly my answer. I mean, god damn. I mean, you said it right, Kaz. I mean, they just been knocking on the door. I mean, it's frustrating, It's just, I mean, it's frustrating to see because, he does have a good team around him. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter how they win or whatever. It's never good enough. And at this point, it's like, the only way you can truly shut everybody up is you just got to win. Like, at this point, it's like, you're there. I mean, the path is so clear. I mean, you play the Heat team without their best player. You play the Cavs team without one of their best defender. Then their best player go down. You playing the inexperienced Pacer team. I mean, as you see some of their late game blunders last night, I mean that's some inexperience right there. Mm-hmm. Your path to the championship won't be clearer than it is now. So I mean, you just got to kick that door down at this point. But if I had to choose somebody other than being a homer, I guess I could. I say Ant just because I just like his game. I mean, I like how he played. He's a matter of fact person. Like it don't even matter win, lose, draw. He's the same person. He's not woofing when they he not a front runner. He just talk. That's just him, all natural. So if I had to pick somebody other than that, I'd say Ant.
I think Ant, but both of them are good answers. Obviously, we talked about it throughout our time on the podcast about how Ant could possibly take over and be the face of the NBA. I would say at midseason, even given that they were doing so well, I don't think any of us thought that this was going to happen in terms of them possibly getting to the finals for real, or even being in the conference finals at this point. And then obviously, I think everybody expected the Celtics by midseason to be at this point, if not from the beginning of the season to be at this point. But honestly, I would like to see Gobert get one. I would like to see Gobert and Kyrie, honestly, the number twos on either side, because obviously Gobert has been getting hated on and hated on and hated on, especially over the past few weeks. Jokes. He is the butt of all jokes. Especially over the past couple of weeks, people trying to say that he was getting did in by Jokic, which I mean, obviously, it's the best player in the league. He coming off of his third MVP, like, okay, bro, he can't give me a couple buckets. Like, goddamn. I mean, I know he won Defensive Player of the Year, but I mean, people were going a little bit overboard, especially given that he impacted the Sun series so well. And then just his entire career. I mean, what is it? 4 Defensive Player of the Years at this point. His teams have been, one of the best defensive teams in general throughout his entire career. He's had a couple number one seeded teams with the Utah Jazz. Obviously, the Timberwolves had a great opportunity. What were they tied for the number one
Up
seed
until the
anyway
last game, yeah.
this year, or maybe up until the
Mm-hmm.
last game. So you know, I think he deserves a little bit more respect than people are giving to. Like people are just acting like he's just some bum out there playing and looking into these
Yeah.
awards. Like, I mean, relax there. And then Kyrie, obviously, Kyrie is my favorite player, but outside of that, just his journey since his last championship to now. I
Has been
mean,
hellacious, boy.
obviously losing against the Warriors again that next year with KD coming, going to the Celtics, and that whole saga between trying to get out of Cleveland, wanting to be traded, whatever he had going on with LeBron, whatever he had going on with the Cavs front office for maybe possibly floating his name in a trade. I don't know, what the details in totality is behind that. Getting injured in Boston, then getting out in the second round, having that bad showing. Then you got him going to the Nets and that just horrific period between the vaccine stuff, the anti-Semitic, not anti-Semitic, whatever's going on with the Amazon video. I mean, and then finally coming to Dallas, you got people saying that it's not going to work with him and Luka. They obviously had a bad season towards the end of the season last year. I mean, it's just him not making the top 75. Obviously, it's been rumored. We've seen the videos on Twitter where they say that he actually made it, but they told him not because of the vaccine or whatever. Who knows if that was actually true? But getting a second championship, being the second best player on a team, I mean, that's like total vindication after everything that's gone on. And I mean, I just rattled off a bunch of years. So I mean, what the Cavs won in 2016, it's almost been 10 years, 8 years.
It's been a minute. It's been a
That's
minute.
crazy.
Do you think another championship? Because I know once he gets to the finals, I know he's going to play well. You think that cements him Hall of Fame?
I mean, I think he's Hall of Fame anyway. I think it cements him first
Okay.
ballot, especially depending on how he plays. I mean, you're talking about a Rookie of the Year, FIBA MVP, All-Star MVP, champion, arguably hit the greatest clutch shot in the history of the NBA. All-Star, multiple time All-Star. It's a shoo-in for him. I mean, he's been to the finals 3 times.
Yeah.
It's just a shoo-in for him, especially maybe not in the NFL the way they're giving their Hall of Fame, but the NBA for sure. T-Mac, no disrespect to T-Mac. T-Mac's making it. No disrespect to T-Mac. That's just the first name that came to my head. If T-Mac is making it, Kyrie is definitely in that bitch. I'm sorry. And then also Jason Kidd getting a championship too. Another one as a coach, given his kind of maligned coaching career as well. But without that, without any more talking about it anymore, who do you guys have winning in the conference finals rounds?
Go ahead, Chris.
I got the Celtics winning the Eastern Conference. I was originally gonna say 5, but I'm gonna stick with 5. I was gonna say 6, but I'm gonna stick with 5.
It is
But Western though, I was going back and forth with it. But I settled in. I'm taking Dallas.
Okay. How many games?
I'm taking Dallas. It's going 7. I'm taking Dallas though. I'm taking Dallas.
Okay. Celtics in Dallas. For me, I'm gonna pick the Celtics as well. I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go 6 with this one. I think the Pacers pull off a couple wins. They might get swept, though, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, for the West, I'm gonna go Timberwolves. I like the trajectory of this team as a whole, and I think they're a little deeper than Dallas, and I think it's gonna come and play. It's gonna be interesting. It'll be interesting matchups. I'm really interested to see Jaden McDaniels, what he can do against Luka. What he can or can't do against Luka, and then I want to see Ant take on he called out at the end of the game last game after they beat the Nuggets that Kyrie's his assignment. So I want to see what he does with that. You know what I mean? When I want to see, because he was talking big shit after playing against Jamal, and it's like Kyrie a different animal now. Like Jamal good, but Kyrie is different. So I'm gonna get the Timberwolves.
Kyrie is also a little slight
That's true
compared to
too.
Jamal.
But I'm gonna do Timberwolves in
So it's gonna be
7.
a difference.
I think this series goes 7. I think this is a series where we'll see highs and lows on both sides, and they'll kind of just all come to a head in that game 7. I got the Timberwolves.
So last night's game, I was originally gonna say Celtics in 6. But last night's game, I kept watching, and sometimes I'd look away because I'd be like, Celtics up like 12. I look away, all of a sudden the Pacers that came back. The Pacers kept taking the punches every time the Celtics. I mean, every single time the Celtics got up. I mean, obviously until the end. Every time the Celtics got up, the Pacers made a run back, took the lead, tied it up. So I do think that the Pacers' offense is going to be a problem for the Celtics, and I got it going 7. But I do think that the Celtics end up winning in 7. But I think it's going to be it's going to be a problem for them for a little minute to figure out, especially while Porzingis is out. Hopefully, it looks like he might be coming back game 4 or game 5. I think they're going to really need him in this series because Al Horford, I mean, he's been getting cooked the past 2 series for real. Cavs didn't do it enough. The Pacers were going at him yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see. And the Dallas series, I mean, it's really tough because I honestly think that Jaden McDaniels does not match up well with Luka. I think that they're obviously putting him on him, but I mean, Luka he might be a little too light in the tail for Luka for real. So I'm thinking that it might need to be Ant on Luka, but I don't know how they want to do that with fouls and stuff like that. Luka always trying. But this is another one of those series. We talked about it the first series with the Suns. I picked the Timberwolves because I didn't feel like they could play Rudy Gobert off the floor, even though I obviously said Rudy Gobert needs his respects and stuff like that. The Nuggets, they tried to, but it took like Herculean efforts from Jokic to really get that. Once again, the Mavericks, I'm not so sure that they have the team to do so. But once again, I'm a little nervous about the Luka Jaden McDaniels matchup. But
what's the answer?
right now,
he already dancing and shit
with Luka, because it's tough. It's tough with Luka not playing up to his standards right now, and Kyrie for real. I think that the Timberwolves, they've got home court. I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves in 6, but I think if it goes 7, Dallas wins. But I'm going Timberwolves, and I'm sticking with it.
Timberwolves. Okay. I mean, this is it's an exciting one. Seriously, I can't wait to see it unfold, especially tonight. To see what I mean. We kind of seen how Dallas is in game 1, so maybe we already know how this goes. But it'll be interesting to see for sure.
It will be. So with that being said, I guess we all got Celtics in the championship. 2 got Timberwolves, 1 got Dallas. Who do you guys want have it win it all? And then how many games, and who's the Finals MVP?
All in all, now, okay. Go ahead, Chris.
I got Celtics beating Dallas in 6, and Finals MVP will be Derek White. It will not be Jason Tatum.
That is interesting. You think he has a whole series better than JT and Jaylen Brown?
I think his defense is what's going to get him over it. That's
but
what
narrative,
I'm saying.
though.
I mean, if we been honest, the first series, it was definitely Derek White series. The second series was definitely Jaylen Brown series. Tatum hasn't had a series. I mean, he's been up and down as far as shooting wise, so I can't necessarily say he's going to be the catalyst or the reason.
If he don't get Finals MVP,
that ain't my problem.
Ain't got no shot.
What? All right, bro.
I mean, it's if whether it's Dallas or Minnesota, if you're the Celtics, Jason Tatum has to be the one, or Jaylen Brown.
I mean, you saying all that, but we also seen a nigga named Andre Iguodala get the damn MVP, and he went. I'm just saying, why did they give it to him? Defensive reason, right? Supposedly.
But I mean, I would say they gave it to him because of defensive reasons, sure. But he was also playing well offensively. But it was the change that of him in getting inserted into the starting lineup during the swing game for the series that kind of changed things for them, and they won 3-0. So I would say, I mean, that was a part of the narrative, as to Cass's point. Derek White isn't gonna all of a sudden be inserted, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah, but
Maybe
I'm just
Kyrie
saying, what
cooks
if
him for
okay,
the
let's
first
say
two
Luca
games.
averages 30-something conference final, but Derek White get the assignment and Luca averages 22. You don't think that'll change the narrative of the game? Because if Luca averaging 22, they're not winning
But
shit.
that's why I don't see him guarding Luka. I would say that would
Jaylen
have to be
Brown.
Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum.
They're not gonna
But
put them on there.
I would have Derek White. I mean, it's gonna be
They're gonna
tough,
have
but
Drew
I would have
Holiday on
Derek White on
Kyrie, so they're
Kyrie.
gonna put Derek White on him.
I don't want Drew Holiday on Kyrie.
They can not want that all they want, but they're gonna do it.
All right, yeah, we'll see what happens. That's an interesting stance
We'll
there
see.
for sure. I got Celtics Timberwolves. Earlier I did say, like I want Jason Tatum to take this on, be that guy, get his first. But I'm really, and we said this in the beginning of the season about Kristaps Porzingis. Like it's all about health with him, and he always gets hurt at the bad times. And if he does come back this series, what is he going to look like? And if you get matched up with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert in the finals, how much of an impact are you going to have?
I mean, that's gonna play straight into what Shai talking about, playing Rudy Gobert off the floor.
If he's healthy enough
They
to
just
make
gonna
a,
space it
think
out.
that's more on Al Horford than Porzingis, to be honest.
I mean, but Al Horford wouldn't start, so that's why I'm saying if it's Porzingis, he's gonna play out on the perimeter offensively.
but he has to be effective though. Is what I'm saying. I don't know how he's going to look or how much he's going to play. So I can't, in good faith, pick the Celtics right now. So I'm gonna go Timberwolves, and I'm gonna go Ant to get that Finals MVP and really take that next jump into being that guy. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it. What about you, Shai? What you got?
This is tough again. I actually think this would be the ultimate matchup. Just between the teams. You got Mike Conley versus Drew Holiday, two great defensive vets. Obviously, Drew Holiday is a better defender than Mike Conley, but Mike
He's made
Conley's
some all
good as
defensive
well.
team, didn't he? Back in the day,
And yeah, and then obviously you've got Ant versus JB or JT, however you want to put it. Same thing with Jaden McDaniels, vice versa. Porzingis matched up with Gobert or what's his name, Karl Anthony Towns. And then obviously Derek White's there, but he's
Stop disrespecting that man, bro.
Nah, I'm just talking shit. But it's tough because the Celtics are due, but it's almost like they're one of those teams that we always say they're due and they're never due. If that makes sense. Like Miami Heat, they've been due. The Buffalo Bills,
They
like
never
people
been
say,
due.
they've been due.
They never been due. Buffalo, yeah. Miami never been due.
So that's like a part, and then it's just it's seeming like everything is going right for Ant and the Timberwolves. Like just this entire year, his entire, not even just the entire season, the off season. Obviously, the USA team still lost, but like his maturation, his kind of watching his progression through that. From the end of last year, obviously the last couple games, the big game that he had against Dallas, I mean not Dallas, the Nuggets last year, which has kind of propelled, I feel like, everything that's come since then. I just feel like it's his year. And I got the Timberwolves in 7. As of right now, once again, I'll see, like Cass said, we got to see how Porzingis is, how he's shooting. Obviously, he's been hurt for a little minute, so that the shooting stroke pause is, is all. It could be a little, it could be right, or it could be way off. And if it's way off, it gets tough. So I'm nervously, I got the Timberwolves in 7 with Ant winning MVP in the end.
I think if Ant does this, the offseason like talk is going to be disgusting. How much he's going to be compared to he's already getting compared to MJ. If he wins the championships,
it's going to be disgusting either way with the Celtics. Either they win or they lose, But I also kind of feel like the Celtics right now are like the Nuggets. Like they're just everything's tight. Everything is tight. They're all it's like everything is, after the first series, obviously the first series they got off. I mean, it's easy pickings on the Miami Heat, and they needed to exercise that demon. But it just feels like, just like the Nuggets, like they know that they got to win a championship, and everybody in there is like tight. That's all I can say. Tight, man.
For sure.
Pucker hole is tight, man.
This nigga
He's
crazy.
crazy. Nah, we'll be good though.
I'm excited. I mean, either way, like we said from the jump, all four of those teams would be exciting, in my opinion, to get a dub. Obviously, Luka getting his first one, Kyrie, like I mentioned, the Timberwolves getting their first ever, the Celtics continuing history, and then also just cementing the JT partnership or pairing or whatever. And then the Pacers, I mean, it would just
that
be
should be
great.
crazy if the Pacers could pull that off.
It would be great. It would be crazy. City of Indy about to go up though. They got Caitlin Clark, Therese Halliburton, Ant nigga. Yeah.
He just
Yeah,
slid that
gonna
in
slide
there.
that in there.
Yeah, Ant nigga.
I saw his little hype video
Ant,
today,
nigga.
by the way, that the Colts put out.
Yeah, Ant nigga.
It's some real excitement.
Yeah.
Hope you don't get hurt.
Yeah, about all that. Y'all better hope your quarterbacks don't get hurt.
We'll be straight if mine get hurt.
That's why I said quarterbacks, nigga. Fuck wrong with you? Because the one behind is
All right,
even more
all
injury
right.
prone, man. But with that being said, what's up with all this talk about Bronny, man? What's up with all this talk about Bronny? What's up with all this love or hate? The conversations, are we talking about him too much? Are we not talking about him enough? Are we not talking about the other players in the NBA draft enough? What's y'all's thoughts, and how do you think that the media should handle it?
It's tough because he kind of, I don't want to say he put himself in this position because he definitely didn't. Choosing to go to, okay, so for what I mean is, like, he went to USC and he chose to go there with a couple other guards, really good guards in that roster, where he knew he wasn't going to have the impact that he possibly could have, right? And then of course the whole thing happened with his health and all of that. So it was never a good start to the season to begin with. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of not sneaking up on him, but that's kind of like put against him now. You know what I mean? If he had a good, decent college season where he was averaging double-digit points and, just, you can actually see the production on paper, all this conversation I don't think would be as hateful as it is right now, because he really wasn't able to show what he can really do on that team because of multiple reasons. But he did have the season he had. You know what I mean? Yeah, he didn't make that much of an impact, and he's supposed to be an impact player. You know what I mean? And it's tough, but some of it is hate, some of it is real. You gotta think, like, he came in, he measured in at 6'1", which is shorter than what people thought. Then he jumps to 40-inch vert, which is okay, cool. But at the same time, like, you're doing this stuff at the combine, you're making a few plays here and there. And I actually watched, all the runs, the 2 runs he had, and yeah, you could tell he knows a game of basketball easily. But he just has to be he's a person that has to be in a good situation to thrive, and he didn't really have that at USC. So it's tough to kind of judge him, but at the same time, it is what it is, because that's kind of like the nature of the business at this point, in my opinion. So I mean, I don't think it's too much. I don't think it's that much talk either. I think we talked this a couple segments on ESPN. Of course, during Combine Week, they were talking about him. He came out with his interviews and stuff, but I don't think it's too much talk. I think it's kind of regular with. I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't think anything's off base.
I mean, shit. He LeBron James' son. I mean,
They had to be expecting this.
Of course they're gonna talk about him. What do we talk? I mean, of course he's gonna be the top of the conversation. Now, as far as, is it too much? I mean, who would you who? I mean, like, at what point do you want somebody to talk about somebody else? I mean, Are they? I mean, like, as far as everybody else that's in the draft, like, are you saying, oh, let's talk about the number one overall pick? I mean, you talk about them too, but but as far as where his draft position is, I mean, it's exciting to see. Everybody done seen LeBron James grow up, come out of high school, play all this time, still just one of the best players in the world. Of course, they're going to talk about his son, and of course, they want to see where he eventually goes because obviously, some of the narrative is, well, at some point in time, some of the narrative was, is LeBron, but is it? I mean, hate. I don't. Outside of what Kendrick Perkins said, I don't think nobody really hate the man or hate the information being brought upon
There was
him.
one
So,
thing I saw though.
I don't
I
feel
forgot who was reporting it, but it was on I don't know if it was on NBA Countdown or something. What they were talking about, like what scouts said, what two anonymous scouts said. Mark Spears was reported.
Mark Stein. Was it Mark? Is it Mark
The
Stein
black
or Mark
guy.
Spears?
Spears, yeah.
Yeah, the big name.
I think it's Spears.
But yeah,
Spears,
so you saw it too. Like what?
No. Mark Stein. Yeah, Mark Stein, the Stein line. Be thinking of Marcus
No,
Spears.
it's not.
But I thought it was a Mark Spears too.
Anyway.
Maybe I'm tripping.
Go ahead.
But did you see what he said, Chris, about the two scouts? So basically, after he measured and stuff, before he even played, and the measurements came in,
Spears.
Yeah,
Spears.
And the measurements came in, and they saw that he was 6'1". Of course, after being reported that he's 6'3", 6'4" for years. He said that one scout told him that they wouldn't draft him at all. Like, he's just undraftable pretty much. And even after the couple of runs that he had, another scout said pretty much the same thing. Like, yeah, like, he's a good player, but he's nothing like special, pretty much is what he's kind of get across there from two anonymous scouts that were there. That was what's funny to me is that you look at you talking about undraftable in this class and much has been said about this class too, as far as like how lack of talent. So if you call him undraftable in this class, I think that's a little bit of hate. But that was the first thing I seen about that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I mean, because you this time last year, like, of course, it was all about Victor Wembanyama, of course. But even under that, you still had, like, Scoot was coming from the G League, Ignite. You still had talk about other guys, B. Miller, the Thompson twins. Even Jet Howard had some. Casey Wallace, like, like it was talk. Grady Dick had a a couple plays in terms. So it was like you could see like who was going to be like the first 15 first 15 20 picks, and it'd be like, all right, we got some. But like this draft, it's really not like, not to say these guys aren't talented, but it's not a clear divide that I'm seeing right now. So that's why I don't think it's too much, because who else are you going to talk about from this draft class?
I mean, I think there are some players that deserves to be talked about, like Kendrick Perkins said. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be intrigue when you have a father and son. Just in general, there was intrigue about Marcus Jordan. There's still intrigue about Marcus Jordan to this fucking day, and he's never been somebody that's been in the limelight. But somehow he's always talked about, just in social media, whether it's his, relationship with Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, or just, I mean, he's been in the news for the past, however many years. But Lonzo Ball, the Ball brothers, obviously a lot of that popped off because of LeVar. And I mean, LeVar, to his respect, is also a former NFL player. I mean, we gotta put that out there too. I mean, shit, Deion Sanders, Shador. Shador is good.
Even Shaq, his son.
Shaq and his son. Obviously Shiloh too. Deion Jr. Obviously, all three of them. Even his daughter, to an extent, gets some publicity. For being, I think she's a volleyball player.
No, she's a basketball player.
Basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You got the Griffeys, who actually did play together. The Mannings. I mean, Peyton went 1. Obviously, he deserved to go 1. Eli, we could say, deserved to go 1 as well. There's obviously been hype about Arch Manning, who's a backup at Texas. Then he had the highest NIL in college, and he hasn't played a.
They showed his game, his spring game on ESPN 2, I think.
Yeah, they were showing. I mean, which
it is Texas, but so it was for Arch Manning.
But they was running them highlights. They was running them highlights. I mean, we hear about Melo's son Keon. We hear about the Boozer brothers or the Boozer sons. You know, so people are just. We heard about Kobe Bryant and we heard about his dad. Goddamn, every time they want to talk about Kobe in any extent. So I mean, at the end of the day, like it's intrigue to it. It's intrigue to the father son. It's intrigue to the possibility of them playing. Obviously, the likelihood of them playing together increases if Bronny gets picked up by some team that is a possible tender, like people have floated Philadelphia or the Lakers. If he goes back to the Cavs, what other team, the Warriors, whomever else, that could possibly win a championship. You could possibly see LeBron going there. So, I mean, it's just as far as the undraftable stuff, it's like when they say there's other people that deserve to be talked about, we don't necessarily talk about other people as like undraftable.
Right.
That that's a little crazy. Like is he? And I also want to say, does it ever feel like basketball does a great job at scouting anyway? Half these aside from the like top 3 players in a draft, the rest of them is like a crapshoot, and it's a bunch of role players. You might have like 2 stars that end up coming out of some random at the bottom of the lottery or the bottom of the first round. Then you have your Draymonds, your Jokic's that come out of the second round, stuff like that. But a lot of times it ends up being role players. So if Bronny's ceiling is, well, people are trying to say he can be a very great backup point guard, which is, I don't know, that's neither here nor there. I don't know his game like that. But if your ceiling is backup point guard, is that not valuable? Is that not good enough to talk about? I feel like the league is lacking a lot of good backup point guards, in my opinion.
I know a team. I know a few teams that need one. Suns.
But you look,
the Suns could use a backup or a starter. Goddamn it!
Yeah. But I'm not so like naive to the fact that also that this is an entertainment business. We saw it just this past week with the NFL, and we saw it with the NBA actually, and how in the deals they just made. With NBC and Amazon. Billy. So it's an entertainment business, and with that comes narratives. And it's a part of it. It's a part of a narrative that people will listen to because his dad's LeBron. I mean, let's just see where it goes. I'm interested to see where he goes. I don't know. I have no idea where he goes. But like Shaw said, like after this draft, after a couple picks, it really is a crapshoot. Would anybody be surprised if he goes? Honestly, if he goes in the lottery, probably not. Would anybody be surprised he goes second round? Probably not. That's why I'm like, that's a little bit of intrigue in itself. How teams view these players, especially him.
All right, real quick, who's your top father-son duos? I just rattled off a bunch. Let's get 3 on.
Father-son duos.
I got the Mannings for sure. I'm sure everybody's probably gonna have the Mannings.
I don't know if he's my top though. I didn't really watch.
I ain't saying the number 1, but
I mean, I didn't really watch back then. I watched Peyton and
obviously not. Yeah.
So I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. They'll probably be in my top for sure. Ooh. The Griffeys.
I was just about to say Griffeys.
Yeah, that gotta be there.
I was thinking about that.
I'm trying to think who else, man. To be honest with you.
No love for Dion and Shador.
See, I was thinking like
Dale Curry, Steph Curry.
I was about to say, only reason I didn't say Dion and Shador because I was thinking just professional, like Shador hadn't gotten to the professional league.
Gary Payton Jr.
That's a good one, actually. That's a good one. Yeah, champion. That might be out there for me. The
Howie Long, Chris Long, Kyle Long.
Oh no, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
that's
tough. Or even the Matthews.
Yeah, Casey Matthews and Clay Matthews Sr. and Jr.
That's quite a few.
Okay. Kobe Bean.
That's quite a few.
Oh, nobody flexed on the Kobe.
Bill and Luke Walton.
I'm fine on that.
His name is father's son.
Excuse me. Nah, can't go for that one, my boy. I'll go with the Mannings, the Longs, Griffeys. That would be my 3. Oh, Luck, Oliver Luck, Andrew Luck.
No.
But excuse me. Back to, keeping with the NBA talk. Obviously, a lot of the conversation now that we talked about, we're having a chance to look at 4 teams that are possibly getting their first championships in a long time or ever. We haven't had a repeat championship since 2018, 2017. Do y'all think that we are moving, there's been a lot of talk about moving into more of an era of parity. Do you think that is like the trend, or do you think that it has more to do with there's no LeBron right now, there's no Steph right now, or Kobe, whomever else you want to say that's been there, Michael Jordan? What do y'all think is it? Or even, do you think it has to do with the player movement or like lack of movement? Because people were saying that the player movement was going to tear away parity. What do y'all think?
I think it goes into what we talked about a couple weeks ago, in that, it's a passing of the torch to the younger players. Because you look around, only players that are moving every offseason are the older players. You know what I mean? All the younger players are still sticking with their squads as of right now, of course. And we see, I mean, it's a good point that you made. Like, we haven't had a repeat champion. The last 5 years, we had different champions. Going back to when Toronto won, then Lakers, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets. It's funny, like, going into this season, it was like we got so used to it in a way. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they're going to be right back. Like with the Nuggets, before the season, it's like, oh yeah, they're going to be back. Look at them. Yeah,
dynasty.
Maybe
Nobody can beat the Nuggets in 7 games.
So yeah, I think we were clearly too lenient with that. Clearly too soon to give the Nuggets, to give this dynasty off, to another team, like we saw with the Warriors, and before that, the Heat, the Spurs, Lakers. Like, it's not like that anymore. It really isn't. But I think it's good for the NBA as well. So I do think there's a lot of parity now. I think it has to do with the young stars and us coming around to being like, let's believe in these young stars and not just give it to these old guys because they've been in the league for a while and they have more experience.
I think we just dealing with the like a changing of the guard at this point. Like, I feel like in the next 2 years, the teams we're seeing right now that are the last 4, they're going to be the ones that are, constantly going back and forth. I mean, I don't foresee Luka leaving Dallas. I don't foresee Ant leaving Minnesota. Don't foresee Jason Tatum leaving. I don't foresee Halliburton leaving. I mean, so they are the teams that are going to be, I could see them being the teams that are going to be, at the end every year going forward in general. Like, you could sprinkle in the Magic, maybe Cleveland if Donovan decide he want to stay. You can sprinkle in these teams here and there, but I just think it's more,
What about the 76ers?
Nah.
What about the Minnesota? I mean, not Minnesota, but Milwaukee. We in Minnesota now.
Nah, but I just feel like I just think it's just a changing of the guard. I just think now these players, like like you said, we talked about this before, like, these players are getting up in age. You still got, you got LeBron, KD, but I mean, how long they gonna be there? I mean, Steph, he can still do what he do, but I mean, how long you think he want to stay in his situation? We don't know what the Warriors gonna look like anymore. It's gonna be a lot of moving parts, but I think the teams that are there currently is what we're going to be looking forward to in the next for the next few years.
To your point, I don't know. Looking ahead, it seems like, especially if we look back maybe like five years ago, it was always talk of XYZ is moving on. XYZ is possibly going to leave. But to your point, like you said, can we foresee Anthony leaving the Timberwolves at this point? Not right now. Obviously, it's very early on. Tyrese Halliburton, obviously, he's been traded from the team that he started with. But I mean, it seems like Indy's going to be home. Dallas, I don't think Luka's going anywhere anytime soon. Same with the Nuggets. You would hope that Giannis stays with the Bucks and stuff like that. But it is interesting, and hopefully that kind of ushers a new change, and maybe that has a lot more to do with even Shea staying with OKC. Obviously, he was traded from the Clippers, but it could be like a benefit of the player. Everybody talks about how the player empowerment movement or whatever kind of like watered down the league and made the league worse than what it was in the 90s and stuff like that, which to an extent, we talked about it. There's not rivalries in the NBA like that,
I
or
was
at
just
least
about to say that.
there's not team rivalries, which would definitely, add some fuel to the fire, at least for marketing purposes. But it could be that the player empower movement kind of help usher in better front office and front office movements. We're still seeing the teams that are trying to get the easy way out, like the Lakers. They're struggling. The Suns, they're struggling. The Warriors, the Clippers, yeah, the Warriors. You can kind of say they went against their way with KD when they brought him in. Obviously, a lot of their before that it was homegrown, and they've kind of with the Jordan Poole incident that they had to kind of do a fast fix. So we'll kind of see how that goes because they did have obviously some young rookies and second year players that played well this year. But it's just interesting to see, even Miami. That's a team that's had. I mean, that's a team that's had a lot of continuity in the front office of doing things right and doing things in the right way. OKC, obviously, they lost. I mean, you lose 3 MVP caliber players and you're right back. You got a fourth one. I mean, that's just your organization doing it right. So that could also be a benefit that has come out of it, where your organizations are more sound than they have been before. But in terms of the parity, I mean, I like it. It's going to be interesting to see, especially with Wemby. We might be getting a little ahead of ourselves because if Wemby does become Wemby, the alien that everybody thinks he's going to be, I mean, it could get a little dark, especially if they get a little Darius Garland or Trae Young to go down to San Antonio, another team that typically has things running right in the front office. So it'll be interesting to see. What do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer having a repeat champions and stuff like that, and kind of watching that, like we are kind of with the Chiefs, the Lakers, Warriors in the past, the Heat to an extent, the Spurs, or do you guys prefer to see XYZ gets his championship, now Joel gets his next year, or Shea gets his next year, Tatum gets his this year, whomever?
That's a great question. Because I think I kind of prefer like if a team goes out and dominates in a way. Makes it more special. It makes it more dominant than it just being, oh, you just got that one run, because they're gonna say whatever about it, like whether it was a fluke run against a bunch of injured teams, or what I mean. So like going out and doing it more than once, and going out and doing it, but with them going out and doing it more than once, it's like, all right, you got to give them their flowers. It's not like you can't be like, okay, like every single one was a fluke run, even though it kind of was. But that's kind of why I like to see a little bit more.
But I mean, yeah, I agree with you, and that gives other teams to strive for something. Give them something like you gotta, like, this team is up here, like we're trying to get to their level. If you got this person win next year, somebody, and it's just random as hell, then it's like, I mean, are you truly, like you said, if you having a dynasty is great. And I even go back to the early 2010s, like even seeing the Miami Heat, even though, they didn't win every year, but, seeing them they went against Mavericks, they didn't win. Now they went against OKC. Okay, now they're going back and forth with the Spurs. Like, that was exciting to me. Even though they were the ones going to the championship every time, it was exciting still to see, who they go against, how they match up with this person, even though they win or lose. So I like it like that. I don't have to be a new person every year.
Yeah.
I think it shows true greatness to y'all's point, and to merge kind of the two conversations that we're having. I think it also, this time of parity and stuff like that. We are talking about how some of those players are getting older. I think it just goes to show that we should. I don't want to say stop, but like we should show more respect to the greatness of a Steph Curry, of a LeBron James. Like I always say this about, and I've said this a few times on here about Kevin Durant, excuse me, and we can go to Jokic as well. Kevin Durant, obviously, we know how great Kevin Durant has been, but the expectations that we had for or that people had for KD past once he left the Warriors was due to what LeBron and Steph were able to do. And it should show like there is a different level, like there's a different gear. Like the same thing with Jokic. Jokic is a 3-time MVP. And against a team that, the Timberwolves have been great, but they were technically worse than they were technically worse than the Nuggets this year. I mean, the Nuggets obviously had the 2 seed. They're coming off of a championship run where we see that Jokic wasn't able to at least get his team to the conference finals, or just to the finals. I mean, LeBron, what did he go to the finals 8 straight times? The Warriors,
Yeah,
Steph went
that's that greatness.
what
Carry, I'm talking
5
about hit back.
5 straight times. I mean that. It 5 straight times, and then the Warriors go back
2 years after that.
2 years later after that. LeBron, same thing, 8 straight times. He goes back to the finals and gets a win 2 years after that. So 9 times he's in the final. How many times? What LeBron's? He's 4 and 6.
He's played
21 years.
10 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's played 21 years. So almost half of his career he's been in the finals. Steph's been in the league since what? 2009.
Yep.
I think. So about, what is that, 15 years? 15 years he's been to 6 finals. So once again, almost half of his career he's been in the finals and been competing. That's stuff that you gotta respect. More like you gotta respect that shit. So yeah, I like to see the teams that dominate. Obviously that's the teams that are also more memorable. Everybody, people remember the Detroit Pistons, but and how dominant they were against that Lakers team that was coming off of a three-peat, but everybody remembers the Lakers three-peat. People don't even talk about the Spurs like that, even though they did win 5 championships, but they didn't. They did it over an extended time as opposed to that three-peat. More people talk about the three-peat with Shaq and Kobe than they talk about the 5 championships Tim Duncan had.
That's a good point.
Nobody. That's if you really think about that, and people don't even make the case for Tim Duncan. Like they'll go to bat for a Kobe or go to bat for Shaq, when Tim Duncan arguably had a better career than both of them. I mean, if you want to keep it a buck. Same thing with the Rockets. I mean, people don't talk about the Rockets winning 2 championships like too often. They talk about the Bulls. The Bulls dominating with 6 and 8 years. So
what I think is cool about where we're at now, because we all had the same answer for this. We do like it when there is a team dominating. It's not like right now we're trying to find out who that team is, and there's nothing wrong with that either. And I think that's what I mean, because we didn't really have this in a way, because we really just went from the Lakers, San Antonio, the Heat. Like we really went from like Bron to Steph. I mean, from
Yeah, I'm looking at it. And I'll tell you straight up. So I'm looking at it. So obviously from the 90s, the beginning of the 90s, the Bulls win 6 out of 8 years. And then we got Spurs. They get the one right after the Bulls finish off. Then you have the Lakers winning 3 straight. Spurs again, so they kind of split that up. The Pistons get theirs. And then the Spurs again, then the Heat, then the Spurs again, then the Celtics. Lakers go back to back. They go to 3 straight finals. So that was obviously a golden period for Kobe himself and Paul Gasol. Then it's the Heat dominance with the Heat going to 4 straight, but they obviously lose 2 of them. Warriors versus Cavs for the next 5 years, 4 years, 4 years. And then the Warriors go back again. Then it's been to Raptors, Lakers, Bucks, Warriors, Nuggets. So the past 5 years it's been back and forth.
But even sprinkled in that, you still had LeBron. You still had repeat champions. You had Kawhi.
The same guys. Yeah.
You still had the Spurs.
Yeah, you still had you had Kawhi even going to Toronto. You had Bron. You had Steph doing it again. So we're in that point now where it's just like
it's really only been 2 people, really, if you want to think about it, Giannis and Jokic that's broken through.
That's where we're kind of figuring out here, like who's going to be that. And I think that's an exciting part of the parity that we see now. So
I will say if we're wrong, me and Cass, in terms of the Celtics losing, I do think the Celtics can be that team because they do have their team locked up, for the foreseeable future. And this would be this is going to probably be a moment for them. If they lose, who knows who's coming back next year? Obviously, Drew Holiday's probably going to be there.
Jason
Tatum is going to be there. The real talk is going to be about Jaylen Brown. What are they going to do with him? There's probably going to be some rumblings of Joe Mazzulla, but I don't see him getting canned. But it's things could go way left or way right, and if it goes way right, then I could see the Celtics being a team that has that 2 year, maybe 2-3 year back to back to back. Well, I won't say back to back to back.
Yeah.
I'll say 2
It
years. Three-peat is tough.
is, but I agree with you on that. The Celtics seem primed for that. Out of the 4 teams that are here,
Which is crazy because I mean they've been going to the conference finals,
right?
like,
Which is why I'm saying it's if they lose, it's
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta look at everything. Brad
Nah, I
Stevens,
mean
my
that's
boy, you done
I
been there for like a
completely I
decade.
completely agree.
If the Celtics lose,
Brad-
you gotta move Jaylen, and you can actually get a lot for Jaylen Brown. You can get probably something stupid for Jaylen Brown. Honestly, I think that's.
Well, if they didn't have Drew Holiday, it probably would have been Darius McCall.
Dude, do you even want Jaylen Brown on the Cavs? I thought he was ass.
He don't want that.
I don't. I'm
You got
not.
LeVert, bro. Relax.
I'm not saying I want him, but I mean they've got to get a excuse me, a wing player. So I mean that would have been
Yeah, they need a
boy
wing
B.I.
player.
that would have been the.
It's coming.
I mean, hey, I have no issue not trading Darius Garland if we could get Bi, but we would need to get Bi and Herb.
Oh no, they ain't getting rid of her. Not after he just made first team all
They
defense.
They might.
Oh man, shout out to Herb too, by the way.
Zion, and what's his name that just came? What's up, boy? Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy, nice.
Yeah, build around Trey Murphy,
nice.
man. Yeah, man, and get Jerry Allen and Karis LeVert.
That's a terrible Pelicans team. Ain't no way, bro. No.
CJ,
you can stop at
Karis
CJ.
LeVert.
That shit's terrible.
Whoa, we're not doing.
I'm gonna do a little bit of CJ slander. Yes,
they was all hurt.
CJ
been giving his mind, body, and soul the past
and it ain't
2
enough.
years to
and it's never gonna be enough.
Keep him afloat. It's all depending on Zion, big guy. You tell him leave the Mariah Mills.
Oh man.
But with that being said, that wraps up a pretty quick NBA episode.
One question. I got one question. So what do y'all think about the like positionless thing? Like as far as I said that in the group the other day, but defensive. Yeah, I don't think that's weird. It's like 4 centers. I mean, I get it, but
I think you've got to be truly special on the perimeter to be considered all defensive, just the way the rules are right now. And with how physical you can technically be against offensive players, and stuff like that, and actually shutting people down, because I mean when you got people coming off 1,000 screens like Steph, or you got LeBron and he's got the entire court spread the fuck out. It starts to get tough in terms of just pure locking somebody up. So I would say it's a lot easier to quantify we see with Wemby, we all know the clips where they coming on a fast break and he's literally just looking at them niggas.
He's looking at them like, try it. Try it.
Niggas is going to say LeBron did that with Kawhi, which is cap. But you don't see offensive players. You don't see players looking at a perimeter guy.
He was like,
he do, Kev.
He's like, shit, this is coming in.
I needed another 2 points. I
agree with Shaw. I'm with Shaw on this one, Chris. You're able to see more of an impact from a certain position and the way the game is played now. So I'm not surprised. Because it is hard to be a lockdown perimeter guy. Like with how many screens there are and how many matchups get picked and switched, you can't. It's impossible to have the impact as one of the perimeter defender nowadays. So the only impact that you can really see is paint touches, and when they get there, what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we see with all these guys, with Bam, with Wemby, with Rudy. That's why Rudy got 4 of them things. You know what I mean? It's just more of an impact that you can that's tangible that you can see. So I'm not surprised. It does look weird, but if they're not doing,
I would also one thing I would like to see, and I don't know, I haven't looked into, I'm sure they might have this in advanced analytics or something, but it would be interesting to see the amount of times that you forced a shot clock violation or something like that for a single player. Like if it was just for instance, Ant and Jamal Murray, Jamal gets the ball with 7 seconds left, trying to make some shit shake. He locks him up and he doesn't get a shot off, or he gets a shot blocked. That would be an interesting stat to see, at least for a perimeter. You'd have to obviously quantify it to the last, because I mean there are plenty of times that somebody has the ball for 6-7 seconds at the end of the shot clock.
Yeah.
And it's just you versus them, and you ain't getting shit off.
I've seen that happen many times. Many times.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see both offensively how many times that you just couldn't get a shot off, and how many times are you shutting somebody down from doing that.
Advanced stats.
Yeah, add that. Add that to the stat book, NBA. I just plugged it all in. Just make sure you shout out the Speak Up Sports Podcast, nigga. All right, with that being said, man, that signs us off for this NBA episode of Speak Up Sports Podcast, man, with Cass, Chris, and Shad. Please like, follow, subscribe to us on all platforms, iTunes, podcast, whatever it is, and we'll catch y'all next week.